Okay, this PowerPoint is over solving equations using multiplication and division. So this is again one-step equations, and instead of undoing addition or subtraction, we're going to be using multiplication and division to solve these equations. So we have a couple more properties we want to talk about. The first one is the multiplication property of equality, and that states that whatever you multiply one side by, you have to multiply the other side by. So again, we're keeping that idea of equality on both sides of our equal sign. And then our last property is the division property of equality, which again says what you divide on one side, whatever you divide one side by, you must divide the other side by. So again, keeping it equal. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. Make it the same operation to both sides. So now we're going to get into a few examples. So here first what we're going to do is draw our railroad tracks here. So draw railroad tracks that separates the left side from the right side of our equal sign, so we can tell there's two different sides that we have to work with. So here we have x over 5, or x divided by 5, equals -2. So since we're starting with a division problem, we have to multiply to undo this division. So we're going to multiply both sides by 5. That's the number that's connected to our variable here, so that's what we're going to get rid of. Now if we look at the left side, multiplying by 5 is just like multiplying by 5 over 1, those 5 cancel out. X over 1 is just x, so we're left with x. Bring down our equal sign, and -2 times a positive 5 will be a -10. Now it's negative because we're going back to our integer rules. A negative times a positive will always be a negative. Now in order to make sure this is right, we always have to do our check step. We write our original problem, x over 5 equals -2. Our next step is to plug in what we say our variable is. So here it says it's -10. So we're going to make sure this is right. We plug in -10 over 5 equals -2. And then our last step is -10 divided by 5 is -2. And -2 indeed equals -2. So we are correct there. Our second example is a little bit different. We have -a equals -24. Now we only have 1a, which is what we want, but we want that variable to be positive. So here we could rewrite it as -1a equals -24. When you don't have a coefficient or that number in front of our variable, that means we have one of them. So now it looks a little bit more like our common problems that we're solving are one step. We have -1a equals -24. Put our railroad tracks here. So we separated the left and the right side. So we want to get a all by itself, so we're going to divide by -1 since we're starting with multiplication here. So we're also going to divide our right side by -1. Those negative ones cancel out. We're left with just a equals a -24 divided by -1. That will be a positive 24. So again, we say our number is 24. We have to make sure by using our check step. So -a equals -24. And then we plug in what our a should be, which is 24, equals -24. If we distribute that negative sign, it'll be -24 equals -24. So again, we are correct. We use this check step to make sure we found the right value for our variable. So it's a very important process to do. Third example, we have 18 equals -4y. So again, I'm going to draw these railroad tracks here, separating the left and the right side. The main difference here is that our variable is on the right side, not the left. Now, it means the same thing. We do the same process, but we're going to start obviously on our right side and deal with that in order to get our variable by itself. So here we have -4 times y. That means when we have a coefficient, a number next to our variable, that's multiplication. So what we do to undo multiplication is division. So we're going to divide by the number connected to our variable, which is -4. So 18 divided by -4. Bring down our equal sign. Those -4's cancel out. And we're left with just y. Now 18 can't be divided by 4 evenly, so we will have some sort of mixed number, or we could just simplify here. Since we're doing a positive divided by a negative, it will be a negative. But let's think first here. We can divide both numerator and denominator by 2. So we have 9 over 2, so -9 halves. Or if we change that into a mixed number, it would be -4 and 1/2 equal y. Now in this case here, when we plug in for our check step, we will probably use our improper fraction because it's much easier to work with when we plug in that number for our y, if we use this mixed number, this negative 4 1/2, we would have to change it back into an improper fraction, so we're just taking a step backwards. So instead, let's just work with our improper fraction. So we have 18 equals negative 4 times negative 9 over 2. Since we're multiplying here, I'm just going to make this negative 4 a negative 4 over 1, because that's the same value there. So we have negative 4 and 2, those can cancel out. This negative 4 becomes a negative 2. That 2 becomes a 1. And when we multiply across, we get 18 equals negative 2 times negative 9, which is 18. So 18 equals 18 there. So we know that y equals negative 9 halves or negative 4 1/2. Both are the same. One's just written as an improper fraction, and one is a mixed number. Now here, this one's a little bit different. We have 3/8 h equals negative 9. When we have a fraction like this, a 3/8, an actual fraction, not our variable over a number, what we do here is we actually multiply by the reciprocal. And this we'll show you how that works in just one second. We'll set this up. Now, when we multiply the left side by the reciprocal, if we look at our cross cancellation, 8 and 8 both become a 1, and 3 and 3 both become a 1. So again, now we're just left with h, which is what we want. And now I'm going to change this negative 9 to negative 9 over 1. And I'm going to look for any cross cancellations. Here, 3 and negative 9 can be divided by 3. 3 will become a 1. And negative 9 will become a negative 3. So when we multiply straight across on this right side, we get negative 3 times 8. That will be a negative number. Negative times a positive is a negative. Negative 3 times 8 would be negative 24. So we say h equals negative 24. We're going to go over here for our check step. 3/8 h equals negative 9. Remember to start with that original problem. Then we're going to plug in 3/8 negative 24 over 1, since we're multiplying fractions here, equal negative 9. I'm going to look for some cross cancellation, which I can do. 8 and 24 can be divided by 8. 8 becomes a 1. And negative 24 becomes a negative 3. 3 times a negative 3 would be a negative 9. And yes, negative 9 equals negative 9. So this is the PowerPoint for solving one-step equations using multiplication and division. We're done with all of our example problems, and hopefully this quick review helped you to refresh all of the skills that you learned in class.